My tattoo I got shortly after I got into recovery, and it is a blue-eyed devil, and it is to remind me that right under the surface of my skin is that. Because when I'm using drugs, I'm crazy. My name is Bill Smith, and I'm from Waynesboro, Virginia. I'm no different than you are, especially to young people. You know, I started out with those dreams, and somewhere along the way, I got sidetracked. I lived in the poor section of town. The school I went to when I was younger, not a lot of the kids in this neighborhood made good grades, and I was kind of ostracized for always being on the honor roll. It was a dysfunctional family. From an early age, like, I knew that my mother and father were planning on getting a divorce when she found out she was pregnant with me, and they never let me forget that fact. How did that affect my development? You know, how did that affect my sense of self-confidence, my sense of self-worth? I know that I had to carry a lot of garbage. When I got into junior high school is when I started drinking. And within just a few months I was smoking marijuana as well. And I went to James Madison University and was planning on majoring in business. My drinking and drug use escalated. I went from just drinking and marijuana to drinking marijuana, cocaine, mushrooms, LSD. I didn't really start using methamphetamine until I was about 31 years old. All of you, the first time you did meth, you would love it. Boy, you would feel like you were Einstein himself. The thing negative you feel about yourself is shed. Methamphetamine probably came to Virginia in the 1970s. I knew the guy who probably originally brought it in. It had always been like a drug that older people in our area did, the people that were working. The factory he worked at, they would work like several days of daylight, a couple days off, a few days of second shift, a couple days off. That kind of environment was ripe for methamphetamine. And this guy's walking across the parking lot and he goes, "Hey Bill." It was my friend who had just got out of prison. He's like, "Come by and see me." I told a friend of mine, I was like, "Man, I just saw my buddy, he got out of prison." He's like, "Man, can you get me a half a gram?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." I take the half gram back to my friend. He comes by, he's like, "Can you get me a gram and a half?" I go see my friend, he's like, "You sell him a gram and a half and keep yours for free." And I was like, good idea. At some point, it turns on you. I can remember calling work and saying, "I can't come in because I have my kids tonight." And I remember calling my kids and saying, "I can't pick you up because I have to work tonight." And basically it's because I just wanted to be alone to do meth. And it's like, my girls aren't speaking to me. They'll get over it. Girlfriend? Jobs? Yeah, I'll give me another job. You're like Schmeagol. You know what I mean? It's like, my precious. Being a drug addict, every major event in my life, I was high. When my kids were born, I'd been out in the car hitting the pinch hitter, and I come inside and they're like, "Are you ready to have a baby?" I'm like, "Well, hell yeah." In a small town like this, most of the drug trade is amongst friends. The downstairs apartment, upstairs apartment, we're both crack dealers. That house right there, a friend of mine, she came home one day, found her son dead from a heroin overdose. This place, Allied Concrete, is like an empty building now. You know, I remember back in the 80s when I had friends that worked there, and it was rough work, but they made good money, and shut down. That's where my friend lived when I first met him back in the 80s, and they asked him to move because he was busier than McDonald's. Some of the biggest drug dealers that have graced the presence of the Shenandoah Valley have lived in Cremora. This tree right here, a friend of mine wrecked his vehicle, he overdosed and died. Drugs are such an underlying cause of so much crime. Those dudes had murdered the crack dealer that lived in this apartment complex. This store right here, I know a boy that robbed it, went in there all the time, came in there all whacked out on dope because he needed dope money. I pull in, The girl walks up to my car window and goes, "Today is my birthday." And when she said that, all hell broke loose. From every direction, I had police officers with guns, like, just swarm on me. Yanked out the car. I'm laying here on the parking lot with like a real pile of them. The first thing that I felt before I felt the fear of the consequences was relief. It's finally over. Drug court program is a program in this area that they take people who are first-time offenders. They give you a chance to get recovery rather than incarceration. You don't get that felony on your record. You don't go to jail. Just arresting people and locking them up for drugs is not doing anything to solve the problem. If you lock me up for drugs and I don't get any help and I'm an addict, when I get out, I'm going to go out and do the criminal behavior to get my drugs, and I'm going to go back to jail, and that cycle just continues and continues. The only way that we're able to break that cycle is to break the addiction. One of the most important things about drug court is it exposed me to the programs of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. 12-step programs are volunteer-based groups of addicts, alcoholics who get together to offer each other support. Initially, when I was going to meetings, I was like, oh God, why am I here? I don't want to have to listen to this crap. And it was a fall night in October, and I'd left the meeting, and it was just a beautiful fall night. It was like the perfect night. And I was walking home, and I realized, how many nights in my life have I missed like this? Most people in jail and prison are not getting any help. I've had friends who were in federal prison, and that's a real major, because suddenly you're meeting drug connections from all over the country. You know, you're going there going, man, I was a pot dealer in Virginia. And you're leaving there going, man, I have cocaine connections in Arizona. I have meth connections in San Diego. Prisons can be breeding grounds for more crime. I've had a good self-support network. You know, it's like with my girlfriend, my kids. I've made a support group out of the 12-step programs. I've utilized the people, I still utilize the people in drug court. You get out of jail, you get out of prison, and you're like, I'm never going back there. I'm gonna make something different happen in my life. You come out with no support system. You don't have, your kids don't want to speak to you, your parents don't want to speak to you. None of your friends or family want to have anything to do with you. My first sponsor in Narcotics Anonymous actually lived in this trailer, and when he found out that I needed an extra bedroom to get custody of my daughter, he sold me this trailer, and he moved right across to the trailer there with the bush. I'm the representative for the recovery community on the local drug court board. The things that we discuss are what other drug courts around the state are doing, ways that we can make our drug court more effective. One of the most rewarding parts of being in recovery has been the opportunity to take meetings into jails, because when we get into jail, you know, I see those guys and I see me. You know, I'm sitting here riding right now and hoping that I'm going to be able to educate some people and get them involved when I could be sitting in jail right now. I found my life. You know, like I say, I didn't get clean until I was 46 years old. I was high from the time I was 13 till 46. And it's like a spiritual rebirth. Fortunately, I didn't sever the relationships with my kids so bad that we weren't able to have that loving relationship we have today. My best friend of 30 years, when he found out I was clean, I spoke with him this morning on the way here to do this interview, you know, because it's a relationship. He's like a brother to me, and it's nice to have that relationship back in my life. I work out daily because I have a grandson who is 9 months old now, and I tell everybody when he's 21, I will be 70. And I plan on challenging him to and beating him in a push-up and pull-up contest. I've developed a successful relationship with my girlfriend. During that time frame, I got custody of my youngest daughter. I went from a menial job into a career position. I was a sponsor of someone in the NA program that is doing really well in their recovery. I also look forward to continuing to work with people in the recovery community because I know what this program, what the drug court program did for me. It gave me a life, and I want to give that opportunity to everyone out there. I feel like for the first time in my life, I don't have addiction. I don't have anger, resentments, confidence issues, all those negative things that held me back in my life. I'm free of all those shackles. And I feel so fantastic and so positive at 50 years old. I just want to spread that message to everybody. You know, the fact that I was sentenced to drug court rather than jail, rather than sitting here talking to you right now, I could be incarcerated. Honestly, right now, I am so happy in my life that I have not a single regret. It was a long, hard, vicious, wicked path that I had to walk. But if that's the path I had to walk to achieve the level of happiness that I have today, I'd be willing to do it again. I am proof that, you know, where you are is not where you have to be. I'm not the richest man, but I am the Bill Gates of health and happiness. You know, the things that matter most on the planet, why, I just couldn't stuff it in a safe. If everyone were as blessed as me, as if everyone were as happy as me, the country would be a better place. Okay?